Okay, so hello everyone. This is going to go live, but this is also going to be on my podcast station as well if you listen on other episodes. Hey, everybody, I am Shannon Battle, host of Woman Unveiled, the place where we push aside our fears, our doubts, our disbelief so that we can live out our ministry, our purpose, and do this thing called life effectively and efficiently as women. And yeah, I specifically talk to the women, and that's because we go through a lot of hardships. And I talk specifically to women, we call it alpha women. And I had a therapist at one time. She was a wonderful and brilliant psychologist. She was one of the few women that could really challenge my thinking when it came to helping me to uncover some of the challenging beliefs that I had and adopt new beliefs. And she said, "Why don't you consider an AB instead of just saying that you're straight A personality type?" And I thought about that and I asked her, I was like, "What do you mean?" And she gave me some explanation, and it made sense because I realized that I adopted a lot of problematic behaviors because of erroneous thinking. I own definitions of things that just didn't do well for me, that didn't make sense. It was what we call in my culture of conversations, mom and them type things that were passed down, traditions that were accepted and adopted because that's just what we were told to do. And we didn't believe or challenge to do anything different because that is just what made sense to us at the time. So when I'm looking at, okay, well, how do we begin to address certain things that are happening in our lives, what we're doing just randomly, and how we're dealing with one another in life? The thing that I would want to be encouraging about is being obedient. And being obedient, yes, son. So yeah, I'm live, and here he comes in. Mama, I need this. Hey, son. All right. Okay. Yeah. All right. And yeah, so those are those parenting things. He shares an office on the other side for his vending machine, so he needed to get something. But yeah, so you see, this is unscripted, but I wanted to really talk about being obedient. And I've been quiet for a long time. And the reason why is I said I was very busy, and I have been busy, but I've also been disobedient. So that's why today I want to talk about obedience over perfection, because there has been some things that I have neglected, as a result other things have slowed down. So this is my way of committing to getting out of my way. And I'll explain what that actually looks like a little bit more as we just go into this discussion, because oftentimes we can have so many reasons not to do the very thing that God has called us to do. And sometimes it feels like the thing that He's calling us to do is a lot of times way out of our league. It is that thing that it leaves us very scared sometimes, scared about how we're going to show up. Do we have the right things in place? And I talk with a lot of women who deal with this. And for me to come out and say that, and when I share privately with women, yeah, that scares me. I dropped the ball on that because I became afraid. They're looking like, you. I used to carry this term, the I can lady. So everyone just thought, okay, well, she just has these ideas and she just goes at it. And typically, yeah. But as you start getting older and you have different experiences, sometimes it becomes challenging. When I was in my 20s, I would have this idea. It didn't matter what it cost. I was just going after it. I was going to figure out a way and I was going to get it done. But then as I started going through my 30s, okay, things started stabling out. Business was good. The money was coming in, hitting seven figures high and all that other stuff. And I'm like, okay. And then I started doing other things. And then as I was doing other things, life started happening. Kids started growing up. I couldn't show up for a lot of things. I couldn't be present for a lot of events because having 5 children, and yes, even though I have a supportive husband, I still, as a mom, needed to be present. So I had to say no to a lot of things. And then when I hit 40, oh gosh, it seems like everything began to make sense at 40 for me. 40, when I look at all the years, 40 was my best year. That was the year I launched my book. That was the year I was having a lot of major speaking engagements with high ticket main event speakers on stage, and I was sharing a stage. It was just so many different things happening. Business was going really well. I felt like things were really in alignment with my family. I felt like I was really close and hearing from God. And then life started happening, and I had to experience some things I never thought I would have to go through. But, I was able to grow through those things. So today, I took notes, and I want to make sure that I hit as many talking points as I can to be able to help you if you are struggling today with being able to show up in life in whatever this dream, this goal, this ideas that you have. Because if you can be honest with yourself, you're scared. Fear has taken the driver's seat, and fear allows you to be comfortable in making the excuses as to why you're not doing it. I was in church on Sunday, and one of the assistant pastors was preaching, and he said he was building on the theme of what our lead pastor was talking about. And then he said, it's time. And then the first thing he said it was time to do was start the business. I was like, oh, okay, he's talking to people, who are trying to start, a business, and they've been scared to do it. But then as he kept preaching his message, it felt like it was grabbing at me. Right? When you're listening to something and it feels like it's calling and it's pulling you. Well, that's what was happening with me. It was calling, it was pulling, and I'm like, what's going on with this? What is this? And so as I sat in a little bit more, and I began to ask God, like, why is this, really impressed upon my heart? And it was like, okay, it was so clear. Going back to your first love, the first thing that I called you to do. And it wasn't really like the first, because he's called me to do certain things in my industry. I was talking with my cousin, and she's a great, um, I hate to say coach, but she's my sister friend, and we share, we bounce. We're like literally that iron sharpens iron when we talk to each other, and we can just tell a story about what's going on with us, and it's like a right now message for the other person. And as she and I were talking, she had recommended this book called Invading Babylon, and this was some years ago. And I recently reread the book because I have been going through some things, and I just felt like things just wasn't in the right momentum. And then as I read that book, I began to understand a little bit more about what my purpose was. I know that I do a lot of things, and I'm really gifted to set up and start and launch and do some really great things and have some really good outcomes. But am I doing the thing that God has called me to do? Am I in alignment with God's assignment? And I began to look at the book again, and it was like, okay, out of all the things you do, what has God situated and positioned in your life as what you need to focus on? And everything that always goes well, even on its worst day, is what I do with families. It's how I help individuals, how I help the children in my foster care agency, how I help the people who are foster parents, how I help people in my counseling sessions. And it all goes back to family. When I look at, okay, what are those things that I'm most drawn to and interested in? What are those things that really bother me? I find that I'm more drawn to injustices made against families. I'm drawn to people who have had exposed moral injuries, and people who have bullied them because they made these assumptions that they were supposed to be perfect people, and now you've come against them, and you've dismantled everything that they built and worked on and that you knew them to be because of an incident. that discourages me because it reminds me of what we're told, that you can do all these good things in life, and then you have this one thing, this one indecency, this one failure to sin, and now all of a sudden everything that you did no longer has merit or worth. And that happens in business. The way the world treats us is the way we treat people in the body of Christ as well. So if I do something in business and say I overlook something, and an accrediting body or someone who's auditing me says, oh, you did this, you overlooked it, so now we want to shut you down. That's how we do. We cancel people's lives because we make this assumption that they're supposed to be flawless and perfect. And then so people operate very pretentiously, and they never operate in full. And I don't know if you can always be fully authentic just because of the type of society and culture that we live in. But they are not able to be true to who they are because of this misconception about who they've become because of what you see them as. And that's a challenge when people are, for example, starting businesses like coaching businesses. And you have this program, you design it to help people and to get them quick actionable results, but then you have people who just don't get the results. Is it your coaching program, or is it the person, or is it you? And when we begin to adapt and build our businesses, our ideas, and shape them around individual people instead of the industry that God has called us to do, then we will likely find ourselves always trying to people please. The customer is always right. Well, what happens when you get the wrong customer that comes through the doors? Because not everybody is the right customer for you. So, as we're looking at, okay, what has interfered in my ability to be obedient? Maybe it's those bad experiences you've had from people who weren't even worthy of the service that you were offering. They came as a distraction. They came to nitpick and find something wrong so they could go back and spread a negative message against you. So if that has been you, I want you to begin to allow yourself to be free from whatever it is that has held you bound because of someone else's negative opinion. There is something that I say is the weight of having a dormant idea. When I was saying, like, I was in church and I just felt like something was pulling me, I felt like it was a weight that had been on me because I had been walking in disobedience. And you know, when you're walking in disobedience, when you don't sleep well, when you try to do something that appears to make sense or work well for someone else, and it just doesn't go right. You put all your energy, your time, you're putting money into it, and it just isn't working. Why isn't it working? Because you're duplicating what someone else has been called to do, and you're out of alignment with your assignment. So now you have to figure out, how do I get back to what God first told me? And a lot of times it's not hard to get back, it's believing that you can do what He said that He's called you to do. So now it's the disbelief that we have to overcome. And so when you get into a lot of programs, you begin working with people, and the first thing they want to do is work on mindset. There's some tension there. There's some pushback because you want to get the action steps going, but you don't want to fix what's causing you not to be able to continue in the thing that God has called you to do. So I really believe that one thing that we need to work on is our mind. We have to challenge those beliefs because now these beliefs have changed how you see yourself, how you see the world, and Lord God, how you see God. Because sometimes, we look at God. Did you really? Sometimes I'd be asking God, God, are you punking me? I'm looking around like, are you really joking here? But no, He's not. Very serious because He was very intentional about you, about what He was going to make you, what He has called you to do to be effective in this earth. You can do things, but are you doing them effectively? Are you able to do them even if you don't have motivation? And so those are the ways that you can begin to see, okay, is this really a weight from myself feeling like I'm comparing to someone else? Or is this a weight of what God is trying to show me that needs to be lifted, that He wants me to be yoked with Him so I can begin to, flourish in what He's called me to do? So that's how it's going to begin to feel for you. You're not going to be comfortable anymore. You're going to feel so weighted when you feel like there's a higher call, because there was something that He called you to do. And you feel like there's not enough space for you in this world. You feel like it's too many retail businesses. You feel like it's too many cookie shops. You feel like it's too many clothing shops. You feel like it's too many jewelry stores. You feel like it's too many chicken spots. And so you said, you know what? I'm not going to do this. Or you feel like I've waited too long. I've wasted a lot of time. Or you feel like, or you feel like there aren't enough resources for you. I don't have enough money. I don't have the credit. And I promise, if you ride with me, I'm going to be consistent. I'm going to keep coming up and showing up on these podcasts. I will talk to you about when I disqualified myself and how I almost prevented myself from walking into what God had called me to do that would bring success and legacy for my family. Your obedience is connected to how your kids are going to show up in this earth. So, for a lot of you who have been holding back and you have been doing well, you have the house, you have the cars, you have money in the bank, but yet you are not doing the will of what God has called you to do, the assignment of what He has structured for you in your life. He did it not only for you, He did it for your family. Your family's legacy depends on your act of obedience. And so that's why I really encourage you, just consider, am I being disobedient in this? If I were to be obedient, what would the first step look like? There's breaking through the doubt and the self-sabotage. I listen to podcasts all the time, especially when I'm riding in the car. And someone was talking about this lady, Eileen. She was given an interview and she was talking about self sabotage. And she was saying, well, just keep it simple. Do whatever the next step is. Teach somebody the next step, because really that is what you can give, and you can give effortlessly. We're always trying to get to the end of something that we don't have the experience to really teach. And we're doing what everyone else is doing on social media. We're Googling, we're chatting it, and we're talking about it. But we have no experience in life in it, because when you pour yourself into something and you're teaching it to somebody else, that energy flows. It begins to become a magnetic attraction. And that magnetic attraction allows the connection to vibe. So it's like, I'm my brother's keeper, I'm my sister's keeper. When I talk with her, she makes my baby jump, and my baby is ready to come to life and come into this earth and sustain and endure and do all the things that it was designed to do. But that is godly connections. That's why you have to be so important about intentional about who you are allowing yourself to be in connection with, because those frequencies can either repel you and get you further away from your goals, or they can draw you near. They can magnetize, and they can cause you to come back to life. It's like that defibrillator. If something is going wrong, when that thing pumps on you, it brings that heart back. It brings it back to life. And so that's what you want to be able to do in your connections with others. So break through that. Also, what God is calling you to build. Man, let me tell you something. When God is dealing with me and He's calling me to build something, it is really beyond what I'm able to do. He's telling me to build a neighborhood right now. I'm like, God, with what money and how I'm going to do that? He said, with the same resources that I supplied for you when you did the other houses, the same resources I supplied for you when you had to believe for your son's healing, the same resources I supplied when you got flooded out of a building you were leasing and had to buy a building in 30 days, otherwise find you another place to lease. The same God, the same thing I've been showing you with the mishaps and the mistakes, and how I've shown you this is what I'm able to do, and this is how I'm able to abundantly supply to get it done. So yeah, He's going to call you to build stuff that is going to be way out your league naturally, but spiritually right where it needs to be, because heaven lends itself to earth and bam, it happens. So I want you to begin to prophesy to yourself, ladies. Tell yourself, you know what? I am going to launch this business. My business will be successful. My children will be able to have the best mentor that lives right in the four walls of the house that I raised them in, because I'm going to live with intention and purpose. I'm not just going to demonstrate how to do things safe, how to do things comfortable, how to do things that don't make you feel out of your league. I'm going to show them how to trust God. I'm going to show them how to bring a God given dream to life. Begin to speak to yourself. And then the last thing, release what's in your hands. So there was this preacher, and I say it all the time. I got to give Pastor Ford in Fayetteville, North Carolina credit, and God bless him and his family right now, because his wife has transitioned on. But I remember when I was younger, young in my faith, just really struggling, and now this is how you know it's God too. My pastor had called a prayer line. Pastor Ford had already preached, and my pastor called a prayer line, and my pastor was going through and he was praying for everyone that was in the prayer line. And I'm just standing there crying because I just like, God, I'm just tired. I'm surrendering. I'm just, just everywhere, right? And then I feel someone come up behind me and come into my ear, and they're like, "You have everything you need to succeed. You just won't believe." I turned around. I said, "What in the world?" And it was Pastor Ford. He did that. He sat right back down. I was the only one he spoke to. So I was like, "Okay, God, you calling me out over here." There are instances where God is not going to let you hide anymore. So that's how you know that the weight is really pressing on you, because every time you turn around now, God is showing more of who he is through people, through conversations, through podcasts like this. And it's just like, okay, God, what do I need to do? Stop being a perfectionist. Don't have a perfect plan. And I know, and then I'm not saying don't have a plan, but many are the plans of a person, but God is the one that determines the way it's going to go. So you can have the plans, and the problem with that is, oh my God, I didn't do. And if you're like me, if A is not aligning so B can happen, I may not do it, because it's like, no, because I'm foreseeing, I'm forecasting, but yet I'm moving farther ahead of God, and is conflicting with my faith. So I encourage you to just do what he's called you with the resources he's given you for right now. Do the next best thing. You're not going to self sabotage when you know that you can help somebody with the next step. It's not being a fraud if you know that you can do braids but you don't specialize in color. Just do the braids. Just do whatever he's called you to do. It's not going to be an issue if, okay, well, I don't do hair but I can do makeup. Do the makeup. Whatever it is he's called you to do. If you want to do coloring books, I just want to just help people color, because it just helps me in my own time. It helps me to really see clearly on how to hear from God. Do a coloring book. There is so many things that you can do right from your home and not have a dollar. Oh God, I can't wait for the next show. I think I'm gonna do that during the summer. I'm gonna talk about that. How God literally took things. He took my credit report and changed my score. He changed the numbers. He took a debt and dropped a zero. Oh gosh, I'm going to talk about all of that. But what I want you to do is just be encouraged and do the next right thing. What is the right thing for you to do? What is God calling you to do? And do that thing next. It's in you. You got this, sis. I'm telling you, if you obey God, even if you fall, there's a cushion with a daggone springboard attached to it. So when you fall, you bounce and you get into a higher position than where you were when you was just smooth sailing along. It's like, God, how did you move me so much further and I lost so much? Because he redeems the time. He has to accelerate some things. So that's why he's able to present you faultless. That's why he's able to keep you from falling. And so we're worried about, okay, falling, but if I'm falling on a springboard and it's going to launch me forward, then that may be a safe space for me. That's going to be a great teachable moment, because he's with me in every step of the way. So the next thing that I just ask you to do is to subscribe, share to this YouTube channel, and just reflect on this conversation. Maybe play it back. I really don't like to give people, okay, one, two, three, four steps, and this is how it's going to happen. But I just want to, just be reflective in the things that I've experienced, because I know that we are overcome by our testimonies. I know that my life has changed by hearing someone else's testimony, and I hope that this does the same for you. So, what are you sitting on, sis? What's the idea that's been burning in your heart but frozen by fear? I want you to now say, I choose to walk in obedience and live out my purpose. Until we meet next time, thank you for visiting me on Woman Unveiled.